Hey fantasy fans, this is Dan here with TreeBeard Book Reviews, and today I'm going to be reviewing Equal Rites by Terry Pratchett. Okay, let's get into this one. So first off, I want to say, thank you so much for watching my videos, and please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe below, and click that bell if you want to see some notifications about any upcoming videos. And let's get into this one. I'm actually kind of excited to talk about this one. This is Equal Rites by Terry Pratchett. It is the third book in the Discworld universe, and it's the first book really where you're not following Rincewind as a character. So the first two books, The Color of Magic and The Light Fantastic, follow Rincewind, the wizard. But these ones, you're given new protagonists, new characters, and you're going to be, you meet the witches, well, one witch. You meet, the first time you meet Granny Weatherwax, who I've talked about in previous video in my Witches Abroad review. And you also meet a new character of Escarina Smith. So, again, in this review, it's going to be a spoiler-free review, and I'm just going to talk about like the basic plot of the book, some things I liked, some things I didn't like about the story, and what my rating is and whether you should read it. So let's get into it. Okay, all right, so let's get into the plot. So I guess first off, I want to say this is the this isn't the first Witches book I read. The first Witches book I read was Weird Sisters. I would probably recommend still reading that one first. I did mention that in my my Witches Abroad review, that you should read Weird Sisters first, but Equal Rites is the first in this Witches series. So what's happening in Equal Rites? So you're met with a wizard who is dying. He's on near the end of his life, and he has traveled very far up to a town of Badass, which is in the Ramtops, the mountains in the Discworld, and he's going to pass on his staff and his power to the eighth son of an eighth son. So it's kind of a little play on the seventh son of a seventh son, like where 7 is a very magical number. But in the Discworld, it's 8 because it has to be, because it's Discworld. It's just crazy. And so he goes to pass on his power, his staff, and then he passes away. So he passes on his power to Escarina, which was actually misreported that she was actually a daughter, not a son, to this blacksmith, where she was the 8th child, female. And so Escarina becomes the first female wizard. So this is a bit of a change, a departure in the Discworld, where a female character is given the powers of a wizard. She's like a little girl, and Granny Weatherwax is there at the death of the wizard and the birth of Esk, being given this staff, and it's really uncommon. Like, there's these strict gender roles in the Discworld where only men can be wizards and only women can be witches. So it's quite a really interesting book when you start out with you start out with these characters that there's this big gender reversal at the beginning. And so then Granny, seeing this happen, who is the witch of Longcrush, she's like of the Witch of the Ramtops, where she's like one of the head witches, where she says, I'm gonna watch over Esk because this has never been done before, and she's gonna make sure that the magic doesn't overcome her. So, you fast forward 8 years, and Escarina, as a little girl, she's grown up. She's quite a rambunctious, little bit of, like a tom girl kind of thing. Like, she likes to play, likes to, be rambunctious with her brothers. But she has this, this talent for, for magic. And she hasn't been given the staff. The staff has been hidden from her since her birth. And she's always been closely watched by Granny until her powers really start to come into her own, and she starts channeling this magic. So Granny kind of takes her under her wing to train her to be a witch. But the thing is, witch magic and wizard magic is extremely different. Where witches are really focused on being at one with nature and using potions and tinctures and using the elements. Whereas wizards are walking around with staffs and blowing things up, and like they have the crazy hats that wizards do. So Granny tries to teach Escarina to be a witch, but then she realizes that Es can never be a witch. This magic she has is wizard magic. So um, Granny and Escarina go on then a mission to Ankh-Morpork, to the Unseen University, to get Escarina enrolled to become a wizard. And that's really the story where that's really like a spoiler-free plot where Granny Weatherwax and Escarina are going on this this mission to get Esk enrolled to become a wizard. And it's quite a delightful little story. It's like I said, it's a very short little book. It's like I said, it's in the early days, the early formation of the Discworld, where Terry's first really developing this universe, like after Light Fantastic and The Color of Magic. So I think what we need to really start talking about now is what's good in this book. Okay, so getting into some of the good of this book, and I think like one of the really good parts is you just get to learn more about Granny Weatherwax. In the other books where I've read with Granny, where she's with like her companions, you really kind of get to see Granny on her own here, where she doesn't have Nanny Ogg or McGrath Garlic with her. And you really get to see her viewpoint on witching. And she's kind of like a little miserable old curmudgeon-y woman, but she's like I said, with Granny, she's got this deep heart and this willingness to always do good. But yeah, it's just more of Granny Weatherwax. Like, I love Granny Weatherwax. She's a great character, and that's like the one thing that's really strong point in this book, is that Granny's really a prevalent power, and you really realize like she's really powerful, and she's really well respected, and she should be. And you get to see these delineation between the wizard magic and the witch magic, and how really witches and wizards view each other. It's quite interesting. I guess another good thing about this book is like the gender roles and like sexism, that kind of like these issues that get brought up with men can only be wizards and women can only be witches, and there's no like delineation. So that was really it was a really interesting like thing that Terry brought up and that he tackled when writing this book. It's such a good take, and doing it with like a little girl, and just it's such a simple thing of like she wants to be a wizard. Why can't she be a wizard? Like it's just it's such a beautiful little story where this girl, she kind of has this destiny forced upon her, like where she's given this staff, but she really like this is it's part of her person. Like she can't be anything but a wizard, and to deny that is it would destroy her. But I just love the confidence in this character of Escarina, where she's like, I'm gonna be a wizard, and like that's it, like deal with it. And just love it. Like I really love that little premise, and like these topics of gender roles, and it was really good. And there's actually a quote I want to touch on here. I'm just gonna read the quote that I've written down, because I really enjoyed it. So just sorry for looking down here, but I just need to read this quote. And the quote is, "And what are you doing on it, I would like to know? Running away from home? Yes, no. If you were a boy, I'd say you're going to seek your fortune. Can't girls seek their fortune? I think they're supposed to seek a boy with a fortune." So it kind of just shows that like reinforcement of the gender roles, how like girls can't really go on adventures, boys go on adventures, and girls, seek boys who have money. And it's, Terry's doing it so tongue in cheek, and it's just it's so good. Like there's some other quotes too that just I really loved in this book. Even though like it's a really short book, it had a lot of good one-liners, and there's one that stuck out to me. I'm just gonna read it here. 1,000,000 to 1 chances crop up 9 times out of 10. I just love that. It's just such a silly little quote. And there's another one too I loved here. They say a little knowledge is dangerous, as a dangerous thing, but it's not one half so bad as ignorance. So there's like I said, there's some really insightful quotes in this book, like for such a little book, and like a book that has a very simple message of a little girl wants to be a wizard. It's just it's a powerful little book for what it is. So that's really the good things I'd have to say about the book. I think we should maybe start talking about some of the things I didn't like about the book. Okay, so let's continue with some of the bad points of the book. So I think again with the Discworld and Terry Pratchett, like this is really early on in the Discworld. He's still really forming what the Discworld is. and you kind of really feel that, like it feels like a rough book. Like you can feel the edges on this book, and I think that's one of the things that kind of brought me out of the story a little bit. Where, and I know like this is like Terry does likes to do iterations. So this was Granny mentoring Escarina, and I don't think it was successful. It wasn't a very successful mentorship. And Terry does go back and he does this iteration again with Tiffany Aching and Granny Weatherwax. So it's the first attempt, but then I believe he perfected it with Tiffany. So again, like he's done this a few times where he wrote The Truth, and then very similar premise like with Going Postal. Going Postal is an excellent book. So it's just like I said, it's a rough draft. I felt like it's still like the Discworld is still developing here. So you can really feel that. You can really feel his strokes on the page with like just trying to grow the Discworld. And I guess like getting on with like some other minor bads, like just some of the characters like I didn't super enjoy as much as the other ones. Was like Escarina, like since she's a little girl, it's hard for me to relate as like a 30-year-old man to like an 8-year-old girl. But I thought she was a funny little character. But like I said, she just made like she made like little silly kid decisions, right? So, but she's got a heart of gold. And Simon, Simon is another character you meet. He's like a wizard or wizard in training who stutters. Yeah, Simon's okay. Like he's kind of boring. I felt Simon was boring. I'm like, you could be anyone. Like so, even though like he does become very important in the story later, it's just I didn't care for Simon's character. It is what he is. What he is. He's in the book. Okay, so kind of getting on. Oh yeah, so one negative I really wanted to touch on is with Granny Weatherwax. Even though I mentioned her in the good, you need Nanny Og. You need a foil to Granny Weatherwax. She's such a serious character, and she's kind of overpowering when she's like just by herself. She doesn't have this like limiting force on her. Like she's very serious. She has this like I said, a heart of gold, but she needs the silliness of Nanny Og to balance her. I said, I love Nanny Og. It's no secret that Nanny Og is one of my favorite characters because she's flippin' hilarious. But Granny needs Nanny Og, and she needs McGrath Garlic. She needs these characters to put her in check. And I think it was sorely missed not having Nanny Og in these books. So there's a few other bad things I do want to touch on. The last bad thing I really want to touch on is just like this book wasn't as funny. I felt like this book was usually like the Discworld books have me in stitches, or the story is such a tight story that like kind of like Men at Arms where I couldn't put it down. I was just like I need to know what's happening. Whereas this one, it just didn't like I said, it's a really small book, so it's not too bad, but it wasn't as funny. It just didn't. I didn't fly through this one as much as I would like any of the other Discworld books, and I think that really kind of reflects in my rating here. But first, I do want to preface it like saying there's no bad Discworld books. They're all so good. Like Terry is one of my favorite authors of all time, and the Discworld is slowly becoming one of my favorite series, and if not close to the Wheel of Time for me. But they're so different, you can't really compare them. It's apples and oranges, really. And so I think at the end of the day, I'd really have to give Equal Rites, 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a good book. It's probably the weakest of the Discworld books I've read so far. The one I probably enjoyed the least, but I still liked it. There's still really good things in the book that, like I said, it's just you just kind of got to go into it like Granny's not going to have her limiting. She's not going to have Nanny Og. It's still the Discworld is still forming in Terry's mind. And yeah, that's really it. That's my review of Equal Rites by Terry Pratchett. So just want to again thank you guys for watching along. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.